Hey, it's Mark Podolsky, the Land Geek, with your favorite niche real estate website, thelandgeek.com. And on this week's Art of Passive Income podcast, how would you like to learn how you can run four businesses without yourself? Because my guest today, Jim Manning, who is the CEO of Doorway Properties and the host of the Passive Wealth Show, has founded two real estate funds and three real estate companies. Jim and his team have successfully closed over 3,500 deals. And again, he has strategies to run all these businesses without him. Jim Manning, welcome.
Mark, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. The listeners should know that we grew up 5 minutes from each other in St. Louis. So we'll try to stay on on track and be focused about real estate and passive income, but we might throw in a few St. Louis nuggets here and there, maybe a few Easter eggs for those of you from St. Louis. But Jim,
That's
let's just skip the pleasantries, right? Like I know that you worked for a billionaire. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I had an internship out of college, and this guy, when I met him, he said, "Hey, Jim, why don't you fly on my private jet?" I'm like, "Well, that's cool. I'm used to drinking beer out of a keg at the in my college Animal House dorm room,
Right.
but I can fly on a private jet too. That sounds pretty amazing." And so flew on his private jet, started drinking $1,000 bottles of champagne. And this, by the way, was in 2006 when you could remodel an entire bathroom for 2 grand. That's what I first budgeted in my bathroom remodels at. So pricing, $1,000 bottles of champagne at the time. I mean, I'd imagine they're, $10,000 now that we were drinking. But so I started idolizing this guy because of that and all the bells and whistles that he had. And it was an amazing opportunity because I saw that, hey, this is just a guy, he's shaking my hand. He's not using big fancy words or anything like that. He didn't have an Ivy League education. And what he did, though, was he started a business and got really good at it and it succeeded and built up a billion dollar empire, right? And that was the moment where I realized how amazing of an opportunity that America has for all of us, if we're willing to show up and put in the work.
No, absolutely. So when did you say, okay, I'm working for the self-made billionaire. I'm going to start going and becoming a real estate investor.
Yeah, so it was a neat experience because I could see what happened or like what you can do on your own. And it was a a short-lived internship actually. And I ended up getting a corporate America job after the internship ended. And I realized, wow, like this isn't going to make me a billionaire. I feel like I'm working for the man, pushing paperwork, and what I do is not important. And I fell in love with the idea of real estate because I thought, well, if I buy a house that needs work and the family can't live in it, I can create a home for a family by fixing it up, and I can make quite a bit of money as well if I do it right. So I fell in love with the idea of real estate investing and got into it with I was very fortunate. My business partner Ryan was already in it, and he had a couple high net worth individuals that were willing to lend us some money to be able to do these property flips. And so we had a couple financial backers and started doing some deals over the course of time. And started out slow. I did one deal my first 18 months. And fast forward to let's see, about 8 years later, we did 250 flips in a year, and we've done over 100 deals a year since, for the last decade plus on the investment side. And then we've had and that's just on the flips, but we've done wholesales and we've done a lot of different other strategies too, where all the deals combined pile up to the 3,500 plus.
Yeah, yeah. So where does the passive wealth come in when you're such an active investor?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, uh, what was funny is I was we had these high net worths that were lending us money. And to me, it was like a means to an end. Like I loved it because if I got 100% of purchase and fix up, the amount of deals I could do was only limited amount of money I could raise from people, right? And so for me, it was a great deal as like a hustle partner. But so we just by happenstance talked in some people to be our money partners, right? And so then we're doing all of these deals and building it. And then I started doing the math and realizing, wow, there's several people that are generating millions of dollars a year passively through our organization, and they're doing it from their couch without doing any of the work. And yeah, I'm working my tail off, but my partners that are funding this whole thing are able to do it in a way that, they wrote a check and that was it. And it didn't matter if the deal made money or if it lost money because they were debt partners. They were able to receive what their promised return was the whole way. So, so I kind of accidentally stumbled upon being able to create passive wealth for people for selfish reasons, I guess, just for a means to end for me. And then it was like, oh, wait a second, like we're pretty good at this. Like we've been able to help a lot of people out, and it just goes to show what they teach you at school on, what you learn is like, hey, if you want to be good a success, you have to like know what all the answers are. You can't collaborate or talk to anyone because it's cheating, right? And um, uh, it just goes to show that when you learn how to collaborate properly with other people, you can create passive mechanisms, and not because real estate in and of itself is passive. It's because if you have the right collaboration, it can be made passive. And I know, Mark, it's not, you have kind of a similar thing going on with your Land Geek too. I know where you guys have a done for you product too, where you're making it passive, but it's not passive at all for yourself operating the team, right?
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, we try to make it as passive as possible with systems and automations
Mhm.
and that piece. But, you know, passive is such a funny word because ultimately, if you think of passive as not having to do something, that's not what I think of as passive because there's nothing, even if I inherited $1 billion, I would still have to do something with that $1 billion. So nothing is 100% passive. But when I think of passive, it means that I've done the upfront work so that the work that continues doesn't need my continual involvement. And that's what I love about real estate and land is that it's a one-time sale and then we get that recurring income every single month when we don't have to deal with the renters and the rehabs and the renovations and rodents. And I imagine that your model is similar as well, where you have a team that's really operating and doing the work, and you and your partner are strategically being the CEOs and looking for the opportunities, finding where the critical bottlenecks are, um, and
Yeah, that's right.
in growing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And like even if you like so like the really high net worth individuals, your top half of a percent that have 100 million plus net worth, like Mark's absolutely right, guys. Like that's a full-time job to manage that money if you're going to do it by yourself. And they call it family offices. So what's natural is that an individual that has that much high of a net worth will hire people to work for his family office, and then they'll do the work and make it more of a passive thing for the family. But it's through the leveraging of other resources that you can create these passive mechanisms. Um, but it's, you need, that's really kind of the great truth and the great lie of real estate is you have a lot of gurus online talking about passive income. And I promise you, there's nothing passive about it. Even if you hire a property manager, like they still have to say, hey, the tenant did some damages. Are you okay with these repairs? And like there's still like a level of monitoring that's needed if you're able to outsource it and get all the right other partners with you, or you can find the Marks of the world or the Jim Mannings of the world who have an entire team set up to make it a passive investment. But it's I promise you, and knowing what our team does, and we have 30 plus people, it's not passive at all. Like you have to monitor it and really be on top of it, right? So like it's true. You can develop passive income. Mark was sharing a story earlier. We have a mutual friend, the Wealth Without Wall Street guys, that are generating more money than I don't know, like 95% of people in the nation passively through his Land Geek program, right? And but it's for them it's passive, but Mark's team's doing a lot of amazing things for him.
Right. So it's not, yeah, exactly. So it's, someone's doing the work.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Right. So we have to
Um,
get for this idea of like, well, it needs to like as me as the guy, like I thought like Jim Manning, I had to be the guy that had all the answers. I had to be the guy that knew how to do all of this. And I think if you can get over that ego part of us and get into the, well, no, it's not necessarily me. It's I need to know how to find the guy. I need to find my who. Dan Sullivan has that great book that it's the who, not the how. Or I don't
yeah,
know
who,
if you've
not
read
how. I
who,
have.
not how. Right? And so, like, how do you get good at working and collaborating with people and finding them?
Yeah. Yeah. So Jim, what is your tip for finding good who's?
Oh, is this the tip of the week?
No,
Okay.
no, just no, that's not the
Oh,
tip of the week
okay.
yet.
I'm gonna need another one. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I have found is when you're working with someone and you're looking to partner, there needs to be two things. There needs to be like a personality and a value fit. That's step one, right? Like on that your core values are aligned. But then the other step is there needs to be a true business synergy behind it. All right, so let's get into the first part. And what I mean by core value is that I have a mentor that said, hey, I don't hire anyone. If I'm not willing to have a beer with them on an off day. Like I need to be able to connect and like be okay with them. And I go a little bit deeper than that. It's yeah, you need to be able to communicate and get along with the person, but also like who are they going to be like when your back's turned? Are they the type of person that's going to stab you in the back, or are they the type of person that can, when your back's turned, they can build you up and help you be better? Like so from a value standpoint, like you really want to be connected and have that trust. And trust isn't just their character, it's their competency too, and how good they are at something, right? So there's that piece. And assuming that you have that fit, then the second piece of it is synergy. And so Ryan Wessels is my business partner. We actually became friends in high school. We were baseball teammates. And after college, we started coaching baseball together. And, then we started doing deals together. I fell in love with the idea of real estate investing and he was already doing it. And so like he was able to kind of bring me in and show me the ropes. But I very much, my personality is I'm a pretty nice guy. I like to connect. I like to build rapport. I don't like to ruffle feathers as much, although as I get older, I'm getting a little bit more crotchety. So I
Right.
don't do it as much anymore because we've seen a lot. We've gone through a lot. But Ryan very much is like the bulldog, right? And like you don't want to mess with Ryan. And we naturally, as 23-year-olds, when we were just learning the business, we were able to play good cop, bad cop really well and play like little things like that to offset some of the deficiencies we had in our skill set. But we were friends and had that value fit and had this shared love of baseball and the Jesuit education talks about for the greater glory of God all the time. So we had that kind of commonality at our core, but then also we're like a yin and a yang, very different skill sets. We're good at very different things. And unfortunately, a lot of the times you have like your friends and like the people that you connect with the most are just like you. Like Jim Manning could not be a good business partner with Jim Manning. If I had a twin, that would be a nightmare of a business relationship, and we wouldn't do all that well. But Jim Manning and Ryan Wessels, yeah, we can build some companies and do some deals together, right? So, and then on another example of synergy is I had a lot of time I'm from a middle class family, guys, and a huge blessing was that I started with a $0 net worth after college. Better than what most people get, right? But somehow my grandparents and my parents were able to scrape it together, and I got out with a $0 with $0 of student debt. And so I didn't have money, but I had a lot of time, right? You know, being 22 years old. And our initial partners, very successful business people, they had a lot of treasure, but they didn't have any time because they're still busy they're both retired now and financially free, but they've been with us now since the beginning over, since 2006. But but that also was a synergy because we were able to structure a win-win where, hey, we're going to do 100% of the work. You provide 100% of the capital, and we're going to do some things together, right? And that builds over time, but there was that synergy that happened, and not only skill sets, but in that case, it was a synergy of needs and what each partner was able to bring to the table. And that was a beautiful day when we figured out, man, we just raised more capital, we can do more deals, and we were able to, fast forward to today, it's been 41 million of capital raised for all the deals that we do over the years, and um, it's been good.
That's a lot. That's a lot of homes, Jim. And yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really great insight. I love the fact that you're looking at synergy, but not your doppelganger, right? Like you and I wouldn't make good partners because I'm very similar to you.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
yeah, but it's good to have that self-awareness and it's good to know that. And oftentimes people early on in their career will jump too quickly to a partnership. And
Mhm.
it's somebody they could just have a who and not give up the equity. So it really depends on on a lot of different factors. And I would certainly recommend dating before you get married because, like Jim said, you truly won't know someone's character until you hit that bump in the road. And then
Mm,
is that the person you want in the foxhole, or is that person not going to be in the foxhole with you?
that's
And
right.
you won't know that initially. So it does take time.
You need to have a fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to.
You need to have a
That's correct.
fight. Right.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
so Mark, I'm glad you brought that up too. Like as far as our story goes, when we brought in the money partners, they actually were not equity partners. They didn't have a stake in how well we did on our deals. They were debt partners where they were lending us money. And we had a promised return that we would give them an interest rate for their money.
Right.
And um, and we were able to grow it because we hit the promised return 100% of the time. We have our entire career since 2006, and
Yeah.
like if we made a lot of money on the deal, and we got that upside. If we messed up and we lost some money on the deal, like we still would pay the promised return to the partners. And so like you can also partner with people in ways that isn't necessarily bringing them on as an equity partner, right? Like you can just bring on some debt, and for these high net worths that we brought on, they love that arrangement because they were viewing it as a passive income mechanism. They didn't have to do any work, and that has been 100% predictable for since 2006, however many years that is now. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. I mean, so, 2006, we got a really hot market. 2007, it's feeling weird. Then we have the Great Recession in 2008. How did you guys
Mhm.
navigate that?
So what's interesting about it is I got so much grief from all my friends. And like, why are you like interested in real estate right now? Like, what? Like, it's a bloodbath. I was like, well, like, I want to get excited when other people are fearful and fearful when other people are excited. Like, that's a Warren Buffett quote, right?
Right.
Like everyone's getting scared. Well, this is an opportunity for me to learn the craft and get good at it. So when the market rebounds, like, I'll be able to go on a nice little run. And that's really what we were able to do. And the crazy part about my story, Mark, is um, I had a moment where at the beginning of it, I had like a vision of what I wanted. I wanted to be married with kids, be in a nice house, have a business that's really running and operating where it's not so reliant on me. And to be honest with you, we had a lot of ups and downs. It wasn't a perfect journey, but I remember in 2018, I got there. And I woke up one day and I'm like, well, hey, I'm like living what I originally dreamed. And there's a piece of me missing. I'm still not all the way happy. I don't know if you've experienced that, Mark, before or not, but like it floored me, man. I was like thinking like, hey, like this was what I dreamed of. And I thought, well, if I get to this, then I'll be like 100% fully happy, and realizing that I wasn't. Oh man, it took my breath away, and just like it took me a long time to like realize fully what was going on and what I was missing. The wild part about it was like I was living an overall great life. Like I had the kids, and my family life was fantastic. The investments were fantastic. And yet I had this nagging little thing like I'm missing something. And I just couldn't get my mind around it. And I couldn't understand why every time we hit a goal, we would just raise the bar up and be so fixated on what the next goal was that I didn't know how to actually celebrate the achievements. And, I was becoming really resentful about where I was at. I mean, have you ever experienced that before? Or am I just like insane?
Well, I think what you're describing is the human condition.
Yeah.
At least I think in the United States. Maybe other countries, it might be a little bit different where it's not as individualistic and it's more of a collective. When I think maybe of Asia, but let's just say the Western world where it's more individualistic. I went through that myself where I'd actually write about this in Dirt Rich, but there's a great book by David Brooks called The Second Mountain. And I think what you're
Mhm.
describing is the first mountain dilemma that we all go through, especially when we're younger, our 20s to maybe midlife, where we want to, get the house, we want to get the good education, have the kids, have the family. And if we're lucky, we get to the top of that mountain. We've achieved. And then we realize, oh my gosh, it's just empty. And then you go on that second mountain, which is more other based. It's about purpose, it's about vocation, it's about community, it's about love and intimacy. And it's a harder mountain to climb, but it's way more fulfilling. And I think that, for me personally, I do have that struggle where the half-life of any goal I achieve is so short. And then it's like,
Mhm.
wait, that was right. It doesn't last very long. And then do I have enough self-awareness to realize, okay, am I moving the goalposts? Why am I moving the goalposts? Am I running a race I even want to win? And and having that skill set of I want to achieve, I want to do well for others, but I also want to be happy. And I think it's two different skill sets. And I also often think about a duck where can I be calm and serene above the surface and yet furiously paddling below and striving.
Mhm.
And I think it's really one of those things that is difficult. I have a meditation practice that has sort of helped me anchor into that. But on a day-to-day basis, I think it is the human condition that we all, if we're lucky enough, we experience where we hit that goal. And then then
Yeah.
we realize, oh my gosh, uh, you know, when I got that, it didn't, the half-life on that happiness was so short.
Yeah, and you know what, guys, like if it's okay, I can just share with you guys like my truth and what happened so this is in the last 5 years, this all started happening to me. Um, starting a business is like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, where you got the big ball that's like gonna squish you,
Right.
and as quick as you can. But then one day you look up and you realize there's not a ball there anymore. It's like, well, what? There's so much fear-based energy of like getting squished and not wanting to get squished that then at some point it's like you wake up and you're like, well, wait, like, well, that I can't use that as motivation anymore, right? And then it becomes like, yeah, is there something that can pull you towards a greater day? Can you be 100% motivated and happy with where you're at, or 100% happy and content with where you're at, and 100% motivated to be paddling like the duck does underneath the surface? And so what happened to me is I would write like a gratitude journal. I read somewhere, oh, you have to write 5 things you're happy about every day. And I remember doing it for like a month or 2 months, being like, this is what I thought. This is effing ridiculous. Like I don't, I'm writing all this, but there's no contentment and there's no happiness. And I think, like, and then so then my journey became interesting because like I don't think I could have gotten out of it on my own. And like and I have he's now a business partner, but Jason Courtney came into my life and he said, "Hey, well, you guys are doing a lot of deals, but like what, like are you doing something that has impact?" And I thought about it. Well, like, for the greater glory of God was like the original purpose, right? Like to make money and to honor God. And at that point in my career, it wasn't about that purpose at all. It was about for the greater glory of money and the greater glory of Jim. And what I was missing at that point was that higher calling. And he said, well, I have a home ownership program where we can help people. And I said, well, okay. Well, what do you want us for? He says, well, you guys know how to do hundreds and thousands of deals. I've been working on this for 8 years now. I have like a kind of a cool thing going. Why don't we partner on a deal? And so we did the crawl, walk, run. We partnered on a couple deals, and then I won't forget it. One of our clients in the first couple of deals we did was in a domestic abuse situation, and her ex-husband was so controlling she wasn't allowed to open up a credit card. No credit card means no credit score. And a shelter connected us with her and said, "Hey, we need to get her away from this abusive relationship going on. Can you guys help?" Luckily, we had a house, but when we looked at everything that she had going on, it's like, well, you're a teacher, you're making quality money. She was able to save money on the side, so she had a savings. It's like you can afford a home, you just don't fit a traditional lender's box because you have a non-existent credit score. Well, like I believe in the American dream, and I believe like homeownership's like is one of the most important things we can foster and do for people. And so he said, well, why don't just be a homeowner? We have a program for you that Jason created, and um, so when we got her in, and then we started having other feel good stories like that, I was like, okay, all right, I get it now. It's like I need to let this for the greater glory of Jim thing go. I need to get back centered and acquainted with, with my faith and with a higher calling. And hey, guys, if you're not there on the spiritual front, no judgment for me. I did the wrong way for a long time or whatever, like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that is in the second mountain. I did forget to say faith and
uh,
spirituality is on that second mountain because
yeah,
it is, you do have to do something that's bigger than yourself. And
yeah,
so that checks
yeah,
off all the boxes when you have faith, spirituality, purpose, community, vocation, love, intimacy. It's all other focused. Where the first mountain is
yeah.
egoic. And yeah, I think that your story really hammers home that point that, you know, why are we doing this? And at some point, you do realize that it can't just be for the money. The money is just the byproduct of the value that you're creating. And
Yeah.
once you've done hundreds and thousands of deals, the again, you don't feel it anymore. And
Mm,
but when you take somebody who's in an abusive relationship, they have to live in a shelter, and you take them out of that situation because of your efforts, your skill set, the value that you've created. No amount of money can absolutely substitute for that feeling and that joy of literally transforming somebody's life, and then
Yeah.
them going out and creating more value, being a better teacher, because they don't have to worry about the stress of living in a shelter. And so it ripples out. And so that work then becomes so much greater. And whether it's for, the glory of God or your spirituality, it's something so big, that your your passion for it never diminishes, right?
Yeah, and Mark, so here's the crazy part about it is like 2006 is when Simon Sinek's Start With Why came out. And I think that's like also why I was like, oh, well, real estate, because I can fix things up. And like I intellectually knew that having a purpose was important. And I was almost like I was living a lie when we started just driving revenue, and I was in denial about it, or like I knew, but I didn't understand it, or I didn't understand how my impact was with it. And my words fail me here uh, on it, but there's a difference between like reading a textbook on free throw shooting and understanding how to really be a world class free throw shooter. Um, and what I found was like that was really part of my journey. And I wish I didn't have to like struggle as much as I did to understand that. Sometimes we're so thick-headed, right? But like I've been so blessed these last few years uh, with a lot more joy and contentment. And what I found is like now that the ball's not there, like I'm every bit as motivated as I ever was to make an impact. Um, and it's really aligning, like there's that quote, we want to align our thoughts, words, and actions together, right? And but it's having that true alignment, not an alignment that's like a guy going to church on Sundays and then lives a corrupt life the rest of the week. Like or like an investor that says they're a Christian, but then they go and invest in things that are contradictory to Christian values. Like how do I like align everything? And actually, I got asked to speak at a C-suite conference for a national organization a couple of weeks ago on this topic of how do we align our faith and our investments together, and like or our values and our investments together, and have it all be in sync. And when I got into more of an aligned phase in my life, what I found is like a lot more joy and a lot less ego around it, and not like having to have the desire of Jim Manning being the guy or Jim Manning having the idea. When I have other people that are brilliant on my team that can provide every bit as good of ideas as I can now, right? Like, it's been a journey to kind of like open up my eyes and my heart to that. And my goodness, it's been worth it. It's been amazing. Um, hopefully this is helpful to you. Hopefully there's people listening in uh, that if you're going through it, keep going. I know it's
Right.
not, but um, uh, it's part of the journey. You know.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. And I think if you're lucky, everyone will experience it at some time, and go through that maturation process. Typically it happens in midlife. So if you're younger and you're listening to this, you're probably thinking, well, I'm not there yet. And that's okay. I think it's important to have that identity, to have that ego, and then dissolve it. And and it's okay. So I think it's to have that self-awareness of what you're going through, and going through what Jim went through when he was younger. It's normal. But what's more interesting, I think, is going through that process of, okay, how do I transcend now that that egoic striving for something bigger.
And Mark, what you said there, if I can expand on it, it's so important. It's okay. Like, one of the I won't be loved and I'm not enough are two of like our root fears as people. Different people get impacted different ways. I'm not enough was actually a deeper kind of seated fear that I've had. And, and it makes sense, right? I set a goal for 10 houses in a year, I hit it. Now I'm so busy trying to get to 30 and celebrate the 10 and just in this like kind of discontent state, right? And I think part of the inner work was like coming in with a piece of it's okay with where I'm at and having like an embrace and an acceptance and like a self-love. Can't believe I'm saying that. Oh, it makes me cringe a little bit to say self-love, but I don't know of a different term for it than that. But to just to like embrace the flaws and all, it's like, hey, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and you know what? I can still. Well, it's okay. It's okay that I'm not, and getting into that headspace has been one of the inner works I've had to do to get there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, after, 14 years of therapy, that was my big thing was that feeling of not being enough as well. And it's still a struggle. Uh in one of the things that I know it's self-love's one of those cringy or woo-woo type words, but really when you really get down to the meat of what that is and unpacking, at least for me, it's other focused in the sense that I can't love another or care for another any more than I do for myself. And I know parents will be listening to this like, well, no way. I love my kids way more than I love myself. And yet I bet you there are times when you do get triggered when you're not your best self even with your kids because you don't have that in you
You
internally. And so it's one of those infinite games of self-development that
yeah.
you keep going through.
What's funny is as I were talking about this, the thought popped into my head like, man, what in the world are two real estate guys talking about self-love and inner joy like on a real
Right.
estate podcast? And like why? And I think that this is an important thing to not skip, guys, even if you want the tactics of real estate and the X's and O's, because like you get there and then this is work that you have to do anyway. So why not like work on this and as you're growing, like enjoy more of the journey along the way. Don't take 15 years of your life and have that missing piece because like at some point you have to work on this anyway. And it doesn't matter how financially free you are, how much passive income that you have. That is not that's not a solution to discontentment. That makes life a little easier, sure, but it's not like if you think that that's going to solve a discontentment on the inner, you know, on your soul, that's not the truth. It's not going to do that for you.
No, 100%. And it is the Art of Passive Income podcast. It's not, you know, the the blueprint to passive income. And you can get those tips and tactics and tricks anywhere. But this is the stuff that most people don't talk about because it is something that is is harder to talk about. I can tell you how to market your land, and Jim can tell you, how to do a spreadsheet to do to do a fix and flip, right? That part is a little bit easier. It's going through the existential crisis of now what? Now that I've achieved my goal, that
Yeah.
is a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, and this is incredibly important. I was just reminded as you're saying that, Mark, of a friend that I have that she confided in me. She said, "Hey, Jim, just so you know, 10 years ago, I had more money than I could have ever spent in my life. I had over 400 rental properties, a tremendous amount of equity in all of them. And I was set for the rest of my life. And I decided to buy a hotel that, because it was at such a high price point, when the hotel went under, everything else went under too. And so when we talk about this self-worth, well, what happened to her? Well, I'm not enough. I got to constantly be putting everything on the line. I got to constantly be doubling down. And she had already won a game, but she hadn't defined what the game was that she was trying to win. And then now here she was 10 years later, still working and rebuilding from it. And if you skip this step of working on yourself, well, there can be very painful lessons on the other end. So,
Yeah, I mean, I had a buddy who went from 100 million in land to zero because he wanted to be a billionaire. And I don't think he knew why he wanted to be a billionaire. So it's these are really good things to talk about. But Jim, we could talk all day about this, but we want to get now to that point in the podcast where I'm going to ask you for your tip of the week, a website, a resource, a book, something that's actionable for the Art of Passive Income listeners to go improve their businesses, improve their lives. Before you do that, I have to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Flight School. Learn how the next 16 weeks can transform your life. Go up that mountain of land investing quickly, safely, and efficiently with our team. And I know you're thinking, what about the tuition? It ain't gonna cost you nothing, guaranteed. You're gonna make back that money 180 days or less. Just show us you did the work. Learn more. Go to thelandgeek.com/training. Thelandgeek.com/training. Jim Manning, what is your tip of the week? And your mentorship has been fantastic, by the way. So thank you.
oh, thanks, Mark. Well, I mean, we did used to be neighbors. It only
Yeah.
took a guesting world for us to connect, and even though we grew up 5 minutes from each other, but okay, so there's a St. Louis author named Dr. Jason Selk, and he wrote a book called Relentless Solution Focus. And the reason I bring this up is because it's not as well known. And he was a sports psychologist for the St. Louis Cardinals. It was either the '06 team that won the World Series or the 2011. I forget which. But his book provides a framework for why people have peak performance. And when you're in the pocket, why are you in the pocket and really succeeding at a high level? And it also explains and breaks down when you're in a slump and when the sky's falling and you feel stuck, why you feel stuck. So for anyone that wants to uh, have like more of a framework and raise their awareness level on the times when you're really peak performing and on the times when you're not, it's a wonderful book that, quite frankly, I think more people should be talking about. I think it's fantastic. So
Uh,
relentless solution focus.
we will have a link to Relentless Solution Focus, as well as my tip of the week, which is learn more about Jim and what he's got going on. Go to www.passivewealthshow.com, passivewealthshow.com, the podcast, check out his funds. And again, you can invest with Jim as well and start making that return. Uh, and it could be life changing for you. So, Jim Manning, are we good?
I think we're good. I'm a little bit disappointed to get off the line with you though, Mark. Like we're gonna have to stay friends. And next time you're in St. Louis, we're gonna have to hang out.
Oh,
Will you
for
promise me
sure.
that
We're
much?
gonna get Emos Pizza and Palamanos. Absolutely.
Ooh, Palomano's is the best restaurant in a shopping center that you will ever eat at.
Right. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
in a strange location.
I know. It's so good though. So I want to thank the listeners, remind you the only way Jim Manning's going to come back for part two is if you do three favors: follow, rate, review the podcast, send a screenshot of that review, support at thelandgeek.com. I'm going to send you a signed copy of Dirt Rich, but don't even do it for the signed copy. Just do it so that you get to listen to better guests because they're going to check the reviews and they'll say, oh, okay, it's worth my time. People are actually listening, getting value from this. So please do it. All right. Let freedom ring. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Passive Income podcast. Are you ready to learn how you can start building a passive income without renters, rehabs, renovations, or rodents? Schedule a free consultation at thelandgeek.com/training. Let freedom ring.